Chapter 21. The Kronos Arrest. What Arthur could not perceive, wrapped in the warm, terpene-rich air of the greenhouse, was the fundamental bending of physics occurring around him. He had entered a state of absolute Kronos arrest. To Arthur, his heartbeat remained steady, his breath true in an abnormal cadence, and the purring of the strange, cosmic-eyed felines vibrated in real time, but outside the shielded hull of the lunar artifact. Relative to the pale blue dot hanging in the void, the universe was racing forward. Earth's timeline was accelerating into the future, while Arthur stood perfectly anchored in a localized temporal stasis. He was no longer aging. The biological clock that dictated human mortality had simply ceased to tick. As he stood, flanked by his silent, four-eared sentinels, the air in front of him shimmered once more. A third feline materialized, larger than the others, its sleek black coat absorbing the ambient golden light. It didn't merely look at Arthur. It locked its deep, nebular gaze onto his and conveyed a distinct, undeniable pressure of intent. Follow. The third cat turned with liquid grace and began to pad silently toward the gargantuan vaulted porthole at the far end of the floor. The two original felines immediately fell into step on either side of Arthur, keeping perfect synchronized pace with his strides, forming a surreal royal escort. As they approached the enormous opening, the scale of the architecture became staggering. The porthole was not built, it was grown. Thick organic sinews and pale bone-like ridges formed a massive arching hallway. Peering down the length of this central biological artery, Arthur caught a breathtaking glimpse of an even more massive adjacent cavity. It was a secondary biome, harboring a colossal forest of towering red bark trees that mirrored ancient Earth, redwoods, their impossibly thick trunks vanishing into the misty, artificial atmosphere high above. But their path did not lead into the redwood canopy. On either side of the sinewy hall were two secondary openings, perfectly arched and framed in smooth, iridescent tissue. Without hesitation, the lead feline banked toward the opening on the left. Arthur followed, his footsteps muffled by the soft, mossy floor, transitioning onto a smooth, warm surface that felt like polished stone. They entered a breathtaking, perfectly spherical domed room. The air here was still and cool, stripped of the heavy botanical scents of the greenhouse. There were no monitors, no consoles, no obvious technology. The only illumination came from a single, brilliant source of pure white light positioned directly at the apex of the dome, casting a perfect, unbroken beam straight down into the center of the room. Where the light struck the floor, a perfectly circular elevated dais sat waiting. It appeared to be made of pristine, pearlescent ceramic, smooth and flawless, contrasting sharply with the organic textures of the hallways outside. The three cats moved to the edges of the dais, stopping just outside the pillar of light. They sat in unison, wrapping their long tails around their paws. 6 eyes swirled with the dust of distant galaxies, looked up at Arthur, then to the ceramic platform, and then back to him. The invitation was clear. They were waiting for him to step into the center of the light.